Yeah, what is going on YouTube? It's your boy Denali, aka Don Squally. Today we're back at it with another Sentra video. So a couple of weeks ago, I'm not really sure the order that I've been putting out these videos, but you guys saw the video where I showed you the springs and we test fit the Sentra Spec V wheels. You might have remembered that I mentioned that we got a little bit of an extra part for the Sentra. Now, all in all, for the wheels and the springs, I paid $325, and the guy I bought them off of, big shout outs to him, ended up hooking me up with a Sentra SER front strut tower brace. Now I've got a very dirty Nissan Sentra right here, but it basically connects this strut over here to this strut over here and helps with rigidity around turning and things like that. Now this is it right here. It's a little bit dirty, but all in all, it's pretty effective at what it needs to do. Now the only problem that I'm finding is that, coincidentally enough, if you look right here, there is some thin metal right here, and then if you look there, it looks like almost a big sleeve going through the metal. And from what I've read online, the Sentra genuine struts actually have a longer bolt. These two are fine right here, but it's this one that's the problem. And the Sentra SER struts actually have a longer bolt to compensate for the actual strut bar, which is pretty impressive. I'm surprised that they didn't just make this one plate. I mean, it would have been much easier to design, and obviously they wouldn't have had to extend that stud, which is kind of a pain in the ass for me now. So my first thought when I saw this was, okay, I'll try to flatten this down and maybe bend this bracket flat, but I'd have to actually cut the plate and re-weld it, which is something that I don't really want to do. I think that'll just, kind of ruin the actual rigidity of the way that this was designed. Now, obviously, the best bet, which is what I'm probably going to do in the long run, is for the Sentra lowering springs, I might throw them on the stock struts that are on here. But to be honest, they're pretty well shot. The rubber boots that go over to protect from all the dirt getting inside are pretty much shot anyway. So if I can source out some Sentra suspension to throw the lowering springs on with low mileage on them, then I might end up doing that. Bring this thing over here, I guess. So now the other option was to, I could do a few things. I could take all three of these bolts off and only run with two, and that would make this whole thing nice and flat. I could grind this down maybe, I don't know, a 1/4 inch to compensate for that nut right there, which would also make it sit flat. But since I might in the long run actually get the Sentra front struts for here, which might be a little bit stiffer and a better ride, if we were to take this thing around some corners, what I think I might do is just leave it the way that it is, take out these two bolts, and see if it sits somewhat level right here. And if it does, I think that might be what I do for the time being. Now, obviously, I'm going to have to see if the hood closes. But if not, we're going to grind that down. And I'll just run with two bolts out of the three here. And we'll see if we can get it as close to flat as possible here. Alrighty, so strut bar is on. Now it looks like they are sitting directly on the nuts. I haven't actually torqued these down. They're supposed to be at 30 foot-pounds. I just hit them with the drill real quick. Now obviously the torsion is going to be going this way, side to side, so we'll just do a little bit of a test. And to be honest, those look like they're not going anywhere. So I'm going to get the torque wrench out real quick, torque these down, like I say, 30 foot-pounds, and I'll take the camera off and give you guys a little bit of a walk around. Alrighty, so torqued everything down. You guys might have noticed I also threw on a chrome Nissan burger. I just hate the way that the grills look with just a plain like black painted grill. I think it looks really just kind of cheap. So everything is on here, and I don't know if you guys can see, but we do have a little bit of a gap on either side here. Now obviously you could probably fit something there, but the metal actually conforms to this little curve here, so where it mounts at the top here is actually completely flat. And then obviously right here we are sitting right on top of the nut. So that's pretty good. Like I say, moving it back and forth, I mean, I'm moving pretty much the whole car, and truth be told, this car is my daily, not my race car. My race car is over there. So for a daily, I think this is going to be like definitely an improvement. Obviously not as solid as mounting it to all 3 holes, but it's definitely an improvement compared to what it was earlier. So when I drive it around for a little bit, I'll see if these stay at torqued at 30 foot-pounds. And if they do, then it's safe to say that this thing is certainly doing its job. So what I'm going to do now is just put a little dab of grease along the high points here, and then I'm going to close the hood and make sure that it's not touching. Now, I'm hoping that it's not. We're really talking about like maybe a quarter, half an inch at the most. But nonetheless, I'm going to do that, test fit it, and let you guys know. Alrighty, so I've got our high points, some grease right there. I also dabbed a little bit along the edge there, and then obviously on the corners. So I'm going to close the hood real quick. See how this goes, if it leaves any grease along the top there. Didn't seem to be any pressure. Now, to be honest, even if it does rub, I'll probably still run it. My whole throttle body on that thing is hitting the hood because of the plenum spacer. And yeah, it does look like we are touching only on the corners. Only on these corners right here. I'm going to zoom the camera in here when we get inside. Right here is where it's touching. And as you can see, this whole thing right here actually gives a little bit. So it's not actually hitting the hood, it's just hitting this undercarriage piece right here. Check the same on this side. Yeah, right there. So that's like, it's not hitting anywhere here, it's just hitting right here, which is, I think this has something to do with the fire. Like if a fire happens, it's supposed to put it out. I'm not too worried about that. I just made this video to let you guys know if maybe some of you guys out there with 1.8s are planning on putting one of these things on your car, just to let you guys know what was going on. But I'm thinking we're probably going to put an end to this video. I'm not really sure how long it's going to be, but with all the edits and cuts and stuff like that, we're probably getting there. So overall, I'm like 90% satisfied. I was really hoping that we can get this plate to sit flat the whole way across. But obviously, I mean, like I say, I bought the wheels and the springs, and the dude threw this in for free. So for a free upgrade, I'm pretty happy with it, most certainly. The fitment is pretty good. Like I say, we're hitting the hood just a little bit, but that's not really the end of the world. I am more concerned with it being mounted in the right spot. But I think what's sticking through the top of the nut, where it goes into that little hole, I think it's going far enough into this hole that it's probably actually holding it in place pretty good. As long as these nuts keep it from moving, as long as these nuts keep it from moving side to side like this, I think that's, that should be pretty good for what we're doing with this car. Now, I do really want to address the engine bay. This thing is absolutely disgusting. Once it gets nicer out here, I'm going to be cleaning all this up, doing a degreaser. I'm going to be probably spraying some kind of rust reformer on that, and then obviously cleaning up the battery, a few of these ugly areas, because this car has low kilometers. It just, from what I can see, has never been touched underneath the hood since it's been purchased. And then I'll be doing a little walk around. I have been doing little things here and there just to make the car a little bit more appealing. So once the nicer weather comes around and I can get this thing out of the garage, I'll be doing like a full walk around of everything that I've done to it so far. But as always, if you guys did enjoy this style of videos, kind of switching it up with the little working segments in there with the music, But yeah, definitely smash that like button. It helps the channel. And I hope you guys have been enjoying the Sentra content so far, man, because it's definitely been fun to make. This car, despite it being slow as balls, it's actually pretty funny to drive, and it's pretty hilarious to drive. So I'm hoping that we can get out there and get this thing to Mexico a few times, believe it or not. Just racing a little bit, slower, lower end cars that we're used to racing. But yeah, with that being said, I am your boy Denali, aka Don Squally. As always, I just want to say thank you guys for watching, and we're gonna catch y'all mofos at the next one, man. Peace.